everyone. This is Catching Up with the Nerds with your hosts, Tom and JC, and our special guest, Sarah, is back. This is a podcast about two dads that are catching up on all the nerdy stuff we missed, sharing how we pass on our nerdy passions to our kids, and deep diving into nerd pop culture to make it more accessible for you. Welcome back.
Wow, that was a speedy intro. See what I did there?
On brand, baby. On brand.
All right, cool. This week we welcome Sarah. Good day, mate. Oh, sorry. I forgot I was.
Good day. I'm not Australian.
Yeah, none of us.
Hello.
It feels like it. It is hot like we're in Australia today.
It is super, super hot. It's if you live in the UK, we're currently recording it when the football's on. It's 30 degrees. My fan is on. It's hot.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's one of those. The summer has officially started. We're happy about
Nice.
that. Nice. Is it the same for you over there, JC?
I've actually got a rainy day here in Portland, which we're not wholly upset about because we had a pretty decent spring and a good start to summer. And at least for us, having a little bit of rain at this point is actually good to prevent the whole forest fire thing. So we'll take a couple of days of rain here and there on an odd Sunday.
It's a good call when you can avoid fires.
It's always a good call when you can avoid forest fires. Yeah. So.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
But speaking of fires, I feel like this episode's going to be on fire.
Oh my God!
What are we talking about?
Oh my God! Way to sell it. We are talking about the 30th birthday of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Happy birthday, Sonic!
Yeah, 30 years old.
Hello, June, baby.
Oh God. It's AKA the how old do you feel now episode is just horrible. I'm having these moments at these days where it's just everything is like, oh, do you remember this? That was 15 years ago. And that's when I feel old. So I keep having that every single day now. Anyway. Happy birthday, Sonic. We shall be talking about it. So JC is going to be the hype man. Is going to be the reaction guy.
Yeah.
Was Sarah and myself are doing most of the talking, and I say Sarah is going to do most of the talking because she loves Sonic. And in case you've not, if you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, Sarah is fully kitted in Sonic gear.
Yes, I got a Sonic jumper, a Sonic leggings, my Sonic t-shirt. I'm wearing Sonic earrings, and I got a Sonic mug, which I'm currently drinking tea from. So. Just a tad.
Just a tad. I'm surprised you're not eating Sonic curry as well. That's the thing. They came out with a blue.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen photos. I'll put it on there somewhere. It's horrible. It's just horrible. I think it tasted as good as it looked. So just for you to understand how. Sort of stuff we're talking about. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
okay, Sonic curry.
Good.
So we are going to pay our respect to the little blue.
Pay respect. It's like he's dying.
I know he died, but the way it's gone in the past few years, you can argue that maybe he died or parts of him died.
If we were celebrating the 15th, then yes, that was not a great time to be a Sonic fan.
True. It's true.
How about celebrating coming out of like a quasi-retirement? Like feeling like he's like back up to speed on things.
Oh
my God.
I must make myself useful, Tom, in some way or other.
That's fine. I will allow it this week, and then you go back to normal next week, please. Right. So we're going to talk about the history of Sonic, how it came to be, and then had a fall from grace, I guess we can call it that way, and then its revival and where it's going. So that's sort of the little setup we've got for you guys. And I think before we get going, and Sarah will go with the history of Sonic and who he is and why and how. I'm just going to frame this this episode with how we got to get Sonic on the Mega Drive. And go back to maybe the end of the 80s, I think, late 80s, early 90s, when Nintendo was dominating the home console market with the NES or the NES or the Nintendo Entertainment System, depending on where you're from in the world, and Sega, who was massively into arcade games at the time. They were like the number one provider of quality arcade games. Was thinking, look, the next step for us as a company is getting people to buy home consoles, and we get into people's homes, and we need to get on Nintendo's back. We want to crush them. We want to beat them at their own game. I think at the time in the US, Nintendo had about 90 to 95% in terms of shares in terms of sales in the US. So that was quite a massive market there, and nobody else was there. There was Atari, maybe there was a couple other brands, but nothing that could really rival Nintendo. So anyway, Sega went out and went, okay, home console, let's go, let's do something badass. And they went with the Sega Mega Drive, which was the follow-up of the Master System that wasn't selling really well outside of maybe Europe. Europe was good. It did okay. I don't know about the UK, so I don't know if there's a lot of Master System there. But in France, there's certainly a lot. It wasn't even with Nintendo, but they were doing well. They had to follow up with the Master System. They went, okay, Mega Drive, let's go. So the Mega Drive came out in 88 in Japan, 89 in North America, and about, I think, 90 in Europe. Did really well, I think, in Europe. Not so much in Japan, but that's a classic, It did okay, I guess. But there was a slight problem, is that Nintendo was very famous because they had a massive iconic character for their brand, something that would sell the consoles, and Sega didn't have anything. So, if you want to take on the other side, you got to have something that's going to move units, something that's going to sell consoles, and this is when they came up with, boom, Sonic. So console war started. First big hit from Mega Drive from Sega. They had Sonic, and Nintendo had to answer with their Super Nintendo, which came out, I think, around 1990 in Japan, 92 in Europe, and 91 in the US. And this is how we got kids. Console war, the first ever console war, the 16-bit era, was because of Sonic. Maybe some could argue it was because of Sonic, and Sega, and how they had to take on Nintendo and Mario. So this is where we are. This is where we start with the creation of Sonic, and I think, Sarah, you've done a bit of research because you've got a lot of words on that document.
Mostly because of the history of Sonic, which I had the book handy, which came out when Sonic Generations came out. So I did read it cover to cover like years ago. I only managed to briefly read it again for the podcast. So I might miss the details, but yes. Sorry, JC, I think I interrupted you. You were about to ask something.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so before we kind of jump into history, though, what is your earliest memory of Sonic? How did you guys there's obviously the marketing campaign and stuff like that, right? But it's what do you remember about first being introduced to the character? Because we were all in Mario Land, right? It's how did you break out from Mario Land into Sonic World?
So
want to go first, Tom?
No, I go for it. So guess first, always.
Well, during 1991, when obviously it all came out, I was only 2, so I don't really have a Mario memories, but I will share the story. So I was 2. My mum was pregnant with my brother at the time, and apparently my father was planning a long bachelor trip. It involved a lot of money, and my mum was telling me the story a couple of weeks ago, so I re-asked her about it, and she basically said that she was so fed up with her husband, my dad at the time, spending lots of money on himself, that my mum said, you know what, I'm going to spend some money on myself. And she kept seeing advertisements for the Sega Mega Drive, and my mum was a semi-gamer at the time. She apparently I don't know if you guys remember Cable and the red button pages. Apparently they used to have some games on there. She played some like Roadrunner and such. So she was kind of like she liked playing games on her TV. So when someone recommended Sega Mega Drive for her, it kind of made sense. So, and they kept saying it was it's faster, it's got great games, it's powerful. So she bought it. And the first 2 games were Columns, which was a puzzle game.
Yep.
And Phantasy Star 3, which was an RPG. And then a couple of months later, she said she remembers the huge hype of Sonic, saying it's the fastest thing alive, and he's cool and he's different and he's going to blow. Well, I think was the home came. Sega does what Nintendo don't. So she remembers that huge hype, and she was very much Nintendo must be bad. I'm going to buy Sonic. And it pretty much the rest was history. So I kind of grew up with the sounds of Sonic springing, Sonic collecting rings. That was kind of home for me. And me, my mum, my brother, we all grew up spending most weekends playing the Sega Mega Drive. So we played through all the Sonic games and all the other sort of spin-off Mean Bean Machine and Flicky's Island. I think it was called Sonic Blast in other countries. And obviously we played so many other Mega Drive games like Echo the Dolphin, Wonder Boy and that such. But yeah, so Sonic was really just like the huge part of my childhood. And like since I was like 3 years old, 3 years old, that Sonic was part of my life, and I cannot imagine my life without him. He was the reason I became a gamer, him, and because my mom decided to buy a games console for herself. So yeah, that was my earliest memory, basically.
You had a mom gamer.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. So you when you were young, you gamed with your mom.
Yeah.
I know this sounds super obvious, but I'm like, it's just so cool.
And then when most families would go to the cinema for weekends, for family time, but no, me and my brother would like try and blast through the Sonic games, try and do fantasy stuff free. And of course, back in those days, you didn't have the internet or walkthroughs. You like knew a cheat code if you knew someone who knew something, you know, or you would like buy a magazine that just happened to have the cheat code. So we would like try so hard to get past Sega the Dolphin, and anyone who's played the game knows how hard that is, how unforgiving it is. And of course, with Sonic, if you lost your life, you had to do it all over again. There was no like picking up your save file. You had to literally start from the beginning. So in those days, it was like a family experience. Like, right, we're going to get through like this level this time. We're going to beat Robotnik this time. And even though we never like today we didn't do it, but we're going to try again tomorrow. You know, that was all like family building experiences. You know.
Amazing. And it's like full circle. Like you had a mom gamer and you became a mom gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Favorite story of the week, instantly.
And at the moment, my son knows how to say Sonic and Robotnik, so I'm hoping the cycle will continue.
Yes.
Keep it going.
Yes. Nice. Oh man. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, my story is not similar. Growing up, I was a Nintendo boy. My parents bought me the Game Boy, the fat OG Game Boy, and I was playing Tetris on there a lot, like spending not my days, but a lot of my evenings on that console. Then I moved on to the NES, and Mario 3 there was my absolute favorite. And I remember, the game. Actually, look at that. Talking about Mario 3.
Tanuki. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So the Nintendo was like the NES was just literally always on in my house. And then one day I remember, so I had this friend who had an older brother, and the guy was like probably 4 or 5 years older than me, and I was 11 at the time, so 11, 12, and he was maybe 15, 16. And it's one of those guys that had this, they lived in this massive house, and he had his own side of the house. Like his bedroom seemed huge at the time, but like the rest of the family was super nice, well behaved, and like like the little 16-year-old shithead. This part of the families, like everybody's well behaved, and he's just like completely black, listening to like metal, Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and smoking like empty cans of alcohol everywhere. And I was like, so I was best friends with his sisters. Like we were born like a week apart. They'd be like Aiden and Emily, right? So she was sort of my sister, and so her actual brother was that badass guy that was there and hanging out in his bedroom all day long, smoking, whatever. And so one day I would just drop into their house, and one day I just went there and I was like expecting to see my friend there, but she wasn't there. And then obviously her mom went, "Oh, go and see the brother, he's there." So okay, cool. So I go up to his bedroom and he's in there. I remember him still on the floor, cigarette in his mouth, playing something like a black console I've never seen before. And it's like, oh shit, what is that? And I remember seeing like on the screen, like this blue ball spinning around the screen. I was like, what the hell is going on? What is this? It's so edgy, so cool. And then he gave me the controller and I went, all right, that's cool. And that's how I got into Sonic. I saw the speedy guy going from left to right, and the colorful graphics and the awesome music from stage 1, which is every time I turn the console and I'm like, oh, Sonic. And then I went home and I think I must have talked about it for about 6 months with my parents. I was like, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have it? Can I have it? And then eventually for Christmas or my birthday, maybe I can't remember what it was, but they bought me a console, the Sonic pack, which was available there. And then bang, that's it. I was like hooked. And I think it was 92, so I was 11. And I got Sonic. I got a whole bunch of games. I didn't get all the arcades one, but like I bought Virtua Racing. I think that was one of the big names, like car racing. Also, that's when I started playing FIFA as well, like FIFA 94. Yeah. Oh god. Streets of Rage 1 and 2. I think I must have had 3 at some point. So I had the Mega Drive from like 92 all the way to, I'm going to say like 98 in my house. And then the transition was on PC and then PS1. But yeah, Mega Drive, like actually, I think the first console which I must have been playing every single day of my life for the good 5-6 years. It was never really switched off in my house. And I went through a bunch of TVs. My mom was like, "Oh, broke another TV. No, buy me something better." Yeah. It was the first console to be in my bedroom. Also, it's like the NES was in the living room, but that one I was like, "Nope, nobody else is touching it. That's mine. It stays with me." Teenage years. That's it. JC, you had a Mega Drive as well, right? You say you were.
Yeah. Well, I had the original Sega Drive. What's it? The first one called?
Master System.
Master
System.
The
SG1, but that would be ultra. Like SG1 is before the Master System. That's like old school. But Master System.
That's how I started off. And it's funny. It's like what that guy that you saw playing Sonic is like. That's kind of why they developed Sonic, to like reach out to that specific demographic, right? So it's like and that's what caught me. For some reason, like I still associate Sonic with Sega. Like that to me is like it's like one thing, because it was like the ad campaign was so based around Sonic that it just totally hooked me in. And it was like the edgy system. The thing about it is like I got the first Sega console system, and I fell for like the classic trick of like judging a game by its cover.
Yes, it was massive.
The covers just look way cooler than all the Nintendo covers, but some of the games did not hold up in the same way. And one of the first games I ever owned was California Games, and as we all remember, California Games kind of sucked. And it was the only game I could play for a long time. So Sonic was my first game where I could really like go like, oh, I get the Sega thing. Like all of a sudden, like it made sense to me. It was like super fun. Like the graphics were like completely different to what I was used to from Mario in terms of a platformer. And that's how I got into it. Like I really fell for the marketing campaign. I was such like the kid that wanted to have MTV in my house, but I didn't. And every time I grew up in Honduras, like every time I visited the States, that was like one thing. I was like, show me MTV. It's like, I wanted to see MTV. I want to see The Simpsons, like all this like slightly like edgier like content that I just didn't have access to. I was like, all right, I guess I could watch Disney again, but I really don't want to. And then that's why like when I saw Sega, it's like, that's me. That's the console for me. And then I bought it, brought it home, and I was the only kid in my entire town with the Sega, which sounds cool, but it actually wasn't, because all my friends had Nintendo, so I couldn't like trade games with them for the longest time. And then eventually I gave in and got a Super NES, and I was like, okay, we can trade games now.
Did you used to trade game on the last day at school? That's the trick. Never ever do that. Before summer holidays, like, do you want to trade my shitty game too for your awesome game? I swear I return it. No,
yeah. And then bye for summer. I'm away.
Bye for summer. By the way, I told you I'm moving country.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I missed out on the edginess was the advertising campaign, because you guys said Sega does what Nintendo don't, right? It's the saying. But obviously that kind of advertising is not allowed in France. You can't compare two brands in an advert, because that's just for you can't trash anybody else. You have to promote your own product. You can't just say, hey, look how shit the other side is. So but I did eventually catch up to that. I think there was a printed campaign as well in the US, and somebody brought me a magazine back from the US, from the States once, and I was like, oh, look, there's the adverts for Sega, and I was like, somebody translate, what does that mean? Oh, it's awesome. Burn. That's their attitude. It's awesome. It's just let's go at the other guy. And that's quite a novelty, right? Back in the days, it was like you weren't used to somebody being that aggressive in their ad campaign. Well, in the video game industry, especially, which is still a thing nowadays. With kids, a lot of kids playing Fortnite, eh? Right.
The game we shall not talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, cool. So it's good to get like everyone's take on Sonic, right? Because it was such an impact for all of us growing up. But I'd love to hear more about the history, right? It's like what did go into like the character and the history and the game and so forth. And we have a resident expert here with us that is fully kitted out and ready to go. So Sarah, over to you.
Yeah, the expert as in the person who owns the History of Sonic book, which is very thick and very beautifully illustrated. Oh my God, I can't talk today. It's I highly recommend it if you're that interested. There's a lot of detail. Obviously, I'm just going to do the very bare bones from the book, because obviously I could sit here and read the whole book. We'll be here for hours, and I'm sure you don't want an audio book. So obviously, as Tom briefly touched upon, in 1989, the president of Sega at the time, Hayao Nakayama, was obsessed with Nintendo's success. He kind of kept reading every single magazine that talked about Mario's like game, any upcoming news, everything. So he launched a contest within the company. This was for both Japan and the American branches and they called it the $1 Million Project. They wanted a game that was going to sell 1 million copies, basically. And then apparently later in the development, it was called Defeat Mario. So that was basically their aim game, to make basically just beat Nintendo at the competition, defeat Mario, sell 1 million copies. They wanted their mark on the map, and they wanted to do it now. So a graphic designer at the time, Nato Oshima, so I apologize if I spelled that wrong, I pronounced that wrong, but he was a graphic designer and artist. He worked on the first 2 Phantasy Star games, like he did some of the dungeons, some of the monster designs. Apparently he submitted over like 200 sketches, and they rejected most of them, but they kept 4, and one of them was a rabbit, which they originally intended to go with. But then they brought on Yuji Naka. He was a very gifted and self-taught programmer who also worked on Phantasy Star, but he was more famous for working on arcade to console ports, which is what he was really working on with Sega at the time. And they brought him on, and his idea, he wanted a game that, as he quoted from the book, the player has more freedom where you could skip past the level at the speed of sound. Because when Yuji Naka was playing Mario, he kept trying to complete the levels as fast as he can. He was frustrated, like when you jumped, when you did certain moves, it slowed him down, or we had to wait for platforms to go back and forth. So he was obsessed with like doing as fast as he can. And apparently during the development, they realized with the rabbit, his attack animation would revolve him to stop and then attack and then like have to get up speed again. They didn't want that. And they end up falling back on one of Oshima's earlier designs, which was a hedgehog, or as he called him, Mr. Needlemouse. That was his original name at the start. And they ended up changing it into a hedgehog because then they realized they could make him spin in, like, obviously, like I said, I'm condensing it quite a bit. It's interesting how they came to it, but they realized they could make him curl up into a ball because the spikes could be used as an attack against the enemies, and therefore they could just jump. They wanted a game where you could only use one button, so obviously the direction and the jump button, and you could jump on enemies and keep going. Their main was to keep the speed going. And then lastly was Hirokazu Ashihara, who worked on Altered Beast and Fatal Labyrinth. He was the last guy to join the team. He was the leader. He's less well known than the other 2, but he helped kind of put the ideas together and kind of help them get to where they wanted to go. And that's how we got Sonic as we were today. And then that's kind of how the very base idea came together. And obviously it did get released. It sold 1 million copies. Apparently, I think it was in America, it got packaged with the Sega Mega Drive. So again, that helped boost the sales. And he was like, they had a huge marketing campaign. And he pretty much just broke through and made a name for Sega. And from then on, and then Yuji Naka ended up staying on and creating more Sonic games as it went on. I think the other 2 went on to do other things, but Yuji Naka is obviously credited as the father of Sonic. So
Papa Sonic.
Papa Sonic. I was checking out the numbers whilst we're preparing this, and I think they wanted to sell 1 million copies, but by I think 2009, 2010. I think they sold about a grand total of 15 million. Just the cartridges, not on its own, not just the one coupled with the console, packaged with the console. So I think they've managed to do well. Just on Sonic 1, that's what we're talking about. No, Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Anyone else? I mean, we just talked about Sonic 1, but anyone else also had memories of Sonic 2 and 3 when that came out? Because they were also massive.
Well, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite video game of all time. Even after all these years, it's the game that I could replay that over and over again for the rest of my life, and I would never get bored. And I don't know about you, Tom and JC, but the idea of having like the Sonic and Knuckles on the cartridge, and then you have another cartridge on top, blew my mind as a kid. It was like 2 games in one. What? And in fact, apparently if you put like Sonic 2 on top, you could play when I did it as a kid, she's like, you could play as Knuckles in Sonic 2, what? And then again, if you put other cartridges on top, it had like a side game, Blue Sphere, which was the side game we had in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So it had extra levels. All of this was just like so many different layers, so many different thought processes at the time. It must have been like amazing kind of come out with all these ideas. But like combining the two together was like, it felt, because each game separately was good, but it felt incomplete. When Sonic 3 felt too short, and Sega Sonic and Knuckles felt lacking because it didn't have the save feature that Sonic 3 did. But when you put together, it was like one massive game, and it's like, in my mind, the perfect game. And I did love Sonic 2 as well, but I always have so many. I remember that feeling of, wow, you could put two games together and make one huge game. How did they come up with that? I remember that sort of feeling very well.
I remember Sonic 2 when it came out, the actual art cover, the box art cover, and it's just amazing. It looks so good. But then also what jumped out to me was the special stages in 3D. You know, if you remember, there's like running after or behind Sonic and Tails trying to catch more rings. I thought I still remember to this day the first time I played that and the first time I saw that 3D animation, and I think my jaw dropped and I went, oh my god, that's what we used to play in the arcade. You know, like we used to have those 3D animations, but you had to have those big machines to run them. Like I've got this in my own home. That was just mind-blowing to me. Sonic 3, I don't remember which one's got Super Sonic in it, like as in like Dragon Ball Sonic turning Saiyan.
You mean Hypersonic? Yeah. So there was Super Sonic, which was introduced in 2. They carried
over
to 3. It first started in 2. And in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you can carry, if you get the Chaos Emeralds in like the Sonic 3 part, you get Super Sonic, and then you get them again in Sonic and Knuckles, you become Hypersonic, which is where you got the extra stars. I always loved Super Tails, which is when you get like basically all the Chaos Emeralds again, because I loved all the birdies around it. I used to call them killer birdies, so they just go out and fly and kill the robots for you. I just loved it.
Remember, I don't know if you know that about me. I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan. Breaking news. So JC's
we established this.
But like, imagine one of my favorite characters of all time turning Super Saiyan. When I saw that in the game, I freaked out. I was like, yes, Sonic 2. It's just it's up there for me. It's up there in my favorite games of all time. So what about you, JC? You had that, was it?
Yeah, no. What are my takes on Sonic from those first 3 games? So which is the one where they introduced like his buddy, like the other dude? That's in 2, right?
So Tails came in 2 and Knuckles came in Sonic and Knuckles.
So for me, the big most is when I introduced the buddy, and then to your point, that 3D scene, what they go to like that 3D animation, like to me, that was like, it blew my mind. But the big thing for me about Sonic during the first 3 games is that it was kind of the first game that, and this is not a slight to the game at all, I wasn't that obsessed with finishing it. Like I just loved playing the feel of it. I could just play, because I actually was never particularly great at Sonic. Like there's other games like I got really nerdy about. I got the books. I got to figure out like the cheat codes or how to pass levels and stuff. And I was very like results oriented. Like I was like, I need to see the end. I must complete. And then I had the usual letdown of like the end sucked. Why did I put all this time into this? But with Sonic, I never completed a Sonic game. But I played them all the time because it was just so much fun to play, and how they continue to basically, as opposed to increase the plot line, they just increased like the playability of it. Just playing it just got funner and funner and funner, and that's something I absolutely loved about the game. So that was kind of my take across the first 3. That I felt they just up the level every time without necessarily having introduced a very complicated plot.
And the introduction of Tails was awesome as well. Because they made it a 2-players game, and I think that's really good. You can help each other out. And it's funny you said about finishing the game though, because I had the same. I had to complete Sonic 1, but I've never completed Sonic 2. I never went to the end of it, like because I've completed. Well, my thinking behind it is that I've done 1. I don't need to do 2. Like the second one. It's just me running around trying to see how long I can keep Tails alive. In the 1-player mode, and then see, but then because the gameplay was different, the how you played it was different. Now you could press down and make yourself, turn yourself into a ball and then release it and then go. That was a different way of attacking enemies in the level. So I thought that was pretty a nice way into transitioning into a different type of gameplay. That was really something I really liked. I can't remember much about Sonic 3 though. I know I had it, but I can't. I have it now still, but it's not the one I've played the most. I think Sonic 1 is the one I probably put the most hours in. Right, it's time to move on to the next stage of Sonic's life, I think, which is the sad part. The fall. After the rise, the meteoric rise, unfortunately, as it happens a lot, there's a fall, and that fall came, I was going to say in the shape of 3D, but that's what happened. The transition from 2D to 3D for Sonic was near fatal, the next console that succeeded to the Mega Drive was the Sega Saturn, which, funny enough, is my favorite Sega console now. Fight me, at me, but it's got a great catalog now, and it's probably one of the most expensive consoles to collect for these days. I don't know why it's shot up in prices and in value. But yeah, that transition was bad. Bad.
There's not a lot of them out there, is there, though? Because
the console. So the console you can find. The games are very hard to find for two reasons. Obviously, the console didn't sell as well as the PlayStation 1, which was its rival at the time. But also the quality of the games. And when I mean quality, it's not the game itself. I'm talking about the CD. A lot of Sega Saturn games suffer from game rots, CD rots. So what happens is you get like these tiny little specks on the CD that it just looks like a hole, but it's just the data. It's just gone. So they render those games unplayable. And I've got on a couple of my games there, which I paid a fortune on eBay just to start playing them, and suddenly it launches and then it just freezes, and you're like, kill me now. But the console itself is fine. You can get them actually. If you can get them off eBay from Japan, they cost nothing. Just the delivery cost probably is more expensive than the console itself. But it's that very easy to find in the wild and on eBay. But yeah, Sarah, do you want to talk about the fall and what happened?
Yeah, I never owned a Saturn back in the old days. You can go to Blockbuster and hire console. You can hire consoles for the weekend. I remember us hiring a Saturn for the weekend, but I never felt compelled to buy it. But the Saturn was considered a failure, unfortunately, for Sega. It didn't do well. It lacked third-party support, and worse, it had no Sonic game. There was meant to be a Sonic game, and it got cancelled.
But one of the reasons was a failure because the price was expensive as hell. They announced the console, and they went, "Oh, by the way, it's available to buy tomorrow." And people were like, "Hey, wait, I don't have the cash, and I didn't know it was coming out tomorrow. What the hell are you doing?" Yeah. And then PlayStation Sony went behind and went, "Oh, ours is $100 cheaper, and it's out like in a couple of months, so it gives you time to get that money sorted." And in terms of the technical bits, the Saturn is not well equipped to do 3D games, which was what it was trying to do, and the PlayStation was doing extremely well at the time. But awesome 2D games though, Saturn. Anyway.
The Saturn launched quite a few Sega beloved characters like Knights and Virtua Fighters. So I know there are people who really love those kind of characters. So Sega obviously look forward to the next console generation, which is where the Dreamcast came into thing, which one I did own. I did love my Dreamcast. I think I still got it somewhere in like one of my boxes. But Sony won the fifth console generation, which was where the Saturn was. So Sega really wanted to make sure a Sonic game was on the Dreamcast, and they released Sonic Adventure, which came out in the early 2000s. And unfortunately, a few years later, despite there was Sonic Adventure 2 as well, and a few other games, Dreamcast discontinued in 2001 and pulled out the console market entirely. And then they ended up porting the game. So Sega became exclusively a software company where they ported their games. They started on the GameCube. So they had Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast. The GameCube, sorry. Always in my house, we called it the Gammy Cubby. And then... but then there was from Sonic Heroes, where they started porting to like obviously the PS2, the Xbox, and the GameCube, and that's where kind of like the shine of Sonic's franchise started to really come out, with the bad cameras, the poor plots, and then on Sonic's 15th anniversary, they released a game which I'm sure every Sonic fan dreads hearing, is Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
No.
And this was meant to celebrate the series, but it was rushed out for Christmas, and unfortunately, it was heavily criticized for its long loading times, extremely buggy gameplay, and a rather infamous story. Not the whole story, just one particular moment, but I'll leave it up to just leave it there for now.
Wait, no, I don't know. I really want to know.
You tell him, sir. You tell him. You went there. You tell him.
Okay, so the most of the plot, they take place in like a human world. If you watch the opening cutscene for Sonic 06, it looks like a Final Fantasy game. There's a princess who looks very much like could lift up from Final Fantasy series. What? And voiced by the girl who plays Meg in Family Guy, if you wanted to know. So they have so your Sonic the Hedgehog saves this human princess, and the two end up having a romance and eventually kissing at the end. And the princess kisses Sonic to revive him back to life at one point, and then he ends up turning to Super Sonic to save the day. That was the bit where pretty much everyone went, right, that's it, I'm done.
I will tell you, just go on YouTube and look it up, and you'll tell me if you can last more than 10 seconds watching this, then you're a hero, because it's garbage. Garbage.
Oh my god, that is so bad.
What I find funny though is that during the very early development of Sonic 1, the Japan actually gave Sonic a girlfriend, a human girlfriend named Madonna. And when they showed this concept to Sega America, they were like, no, this human girlfriend doesn't work. It's just weird. Get rid of it. And apparently Sega Japan were like, no, we want to keep it. And eventually it did back down and think, actually, it was a good decision in the long run. So I don't know whether this was meant to like call back to that, the fact they had a human girlfriend at one point. I don't know why they thought it would be a good idea now, but they definitely haven't done it since.
So this is my big annoyance with like anytime a big corporation realizes they have valuable IP, they decide that they're going to take it in this odd, like mainstream direction and not embrace the IP for what it is, which is like, it was meant to be edgy. Like Sonic did not need a human girlfriend, right?
I think one of the things they said, which I think is a good point, was that at the time Mario had Peach. If you had Sonic had to rescue someone, it would have been too much to compare, whereas Sonic's meant to stand out on his own. So I do think it's a very good call back then. I mean, maybe they thought now it'd be a good thing to do because, honestly, I don't know the whole process, but yeah, I mean, obviously it was a bad idea at the start, and like I said, it was heavily rushed out. And I don't know if you played the game at all. I played Sonic 06 like years after it came out, so I knew pretty much half the problems, and it is really horrible, glitchy mess. I struggled to get past the first level. It took me hours to get through it just because it's so poorly broken. I did eventually complete it in the end, but it was one of those games that I know I'll never get back to because it's so poor. And I'm one of the most forgiving Sonic fans out there. I really struggled to get through it.
I did buy it for just for the lulz, Sonic 2006, because I knew it was so rubbish, just straight up crap. So I just had to get it, and it doesn't disappoint in that way, in that aspect. It is as terrible as you think it is. And I usually don't like when I always think that the gaming community sometimes goes into this massive raging fits that's not really a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. It's sometimes too demanding, but like when you play that, that should be how you compare bad games. That's like this is your this is where you go. It's like, you want a bad game, something like a character that's super famous, how not to get it done, go in Sonic 2006 is is there for you if you want to really crap it. Oh, shivers.
Yeah. Is this kind of one of those like release the Snyder cut moments of like, we want the real cut of 2006 for Sonic?
I don't think there's anything for that.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd be up for that. I mean,
sure.
I mean, for me, I'm actually just going to put it out there. I actually really love the 3D era of Sonic. I remember Sonic Adventure came out, and I again was blown away that Sonic was talking. He had facial animations. That all these characters, because in the first 3 games you had other characters you could control, but you're practically playing the same levels. So you just had the different abilities. Whereas in Sonic Adventure, they had their own campaigns. They had their own levels. They could like Gamma, the robot, had a shooting gallery. Amy had a hammer, but she had a robot chasing her. Tails was like a racing with Sonic, and he could fly, and you could skip half the level because you could fly all of it. And then Sonic Adventure 2 came out, and again it introduced new characters, and I loved Shadow the Hedgehog. He came out. Shadow. I was a goth teenager, and it was like, I love Sonic. I wish he was goth. So of course it was like Shadow the Hedgehog came along and was perfect for me. So yeah, and you can at me all your life, but I love Shadow the Hedgehog.
But you know what the issue is with those 3D games though, because I think what it lost in those 3D games is the speed, and I think the speed is what defines Sonic, like 1, 2, and 3. People were really into those games because of going from beginning of the stage to the end. Like you could do it in 35 seconds if you wanted to, if you know your way around. But those 3D games, they sort of lost that. They turn into those sort of mini RPG games, you know.
Yeah, well, I would disagree to a certain extent. So, like, especially the first adventure game, like, like there was like Sonic was super fast, and the level, obviously the 3D, the levels were much huger. I mean, there's a really good retrospective on YouTube by King K. He does a whole video, an hour-long video on Sonic 1, and he just see some of the footage of him, like some of the shortcuts he's seen, like if you spin Sonic at this wall and bounce it, you can skip half the level. Or like that, you had that in Sonic 1 where you could take different routes depending on your skill level, and they had that in the first 2 adventure games. If you knew where you were going, you could like blast your way through. It was still there. It just obviously now it wasn't just that, it was everything else, which understandably, you know, if you weren't into that, you know, you weren't going to play the other campaigns, which in a way was good that there were separate campaigns. Just that means that you won't be able to get the final story because you didn't want to play the others two. But I would agree with you up to about Sonic Heroes is when they started incorporating the other elements, started filtering out Sonic more and more and more. And then it got to 06 where even like the main draw of Sonic, the speediness, was so broken. There's a section on the levels where he's literally on a, what's it called, a railway. He's fast and he's meant to literally just like weave around all the obstacles, and it was so glitchy and broken you just cannot do it, and you have to like somehow adapt your gameplay to the engine to try and get past the levels. And that's why, like, I mean, obviously Sonic 06 is not just a bad Sonic game, it's a bad game full stop, but that was kind of the point where it was like you've lost why people love Sonic in the first place, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
No, and coming back to your point though about like the female version of Sonic, right? Was it a Shudder? You said
no, Shadow, not the female version, just a dark version.
Shadow, it's a dark version. It's black Sonic.
Yeah, okay, black and red.
Was there ever a female version of Sonic?
We had Amy,
Amy.
Yeah, I remember that at some point. Yeah. Which game was she introduced in?
So she was technically in like some of the comics, and she was in Sega Sonic CD, which was like on the previous generations.
Sega CD.
But this was this is the first one she was playable in a main Sonic game.
Okay.
I believe, and she was like more well known in like the comics and the animated series and such. So, but she wasn't really about speed. She had a hammer which she could use to like kind of get rid of enemies and also elevate her to her newer heights. So yeah.
Okay.
And then
successful character. Or not so much successful character, or not so much.
She's popular and everything. I think she's kind of like your typical she's the opposite. She's pink. She's like got a massive crush on Sonic. Kind of like your early 90s sort of like female character creation. She's got her fans. I'm not particularly as fond of her, but I don't hate her either. So
okay, got it. Yeah.
But yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog was more like dark and serious. He's the ultimate life form. He speaks with a deep growly voice, and So
I remember this now. Yeah.
You faker, huh? You're not even good enough to be my friend. But that's the Shadow the Hedgehog. He had his own spin-off game because he was so popular. So which I loved, by the way.
Yeah, you must be the only one because I did check those best and worst Sonic games, and usually Shadow is up there in the worst category. People did not take to him that much, but I like the design of Shadow. I think it was badass. It's nice to see that bit of darkness. That was pretty cool. Darkness. Next, so 2D to 3D, meow, in the eyes of the great public, that was a no-go. Even though Sarah loved it, not many people did. But luckily enough, Sonic managed to do a little bit of a comeback, a bit of a revival in the recent years. There's a few things that came out, a few games that were really, really cool. I think at this point, the 2D to 3D thing didn't really work out. And as you said, Sega sort of got out of the video game console making action, and they went, okay, we'll do all the softwares now, which got us to this weird thing where now you can find Sonic on Nintendo consoles. You find Sonic on the Wii, Sonic on the Wii U, Sonic on the 3DS, Sonic on your Game Boy Advance, yes, which is Nintendo, because Sonic Adventure is on Game Boy Advance. So there's a whole lot of weird parallel universe stuff going on there, where suddenly you've got Sonic and Mario at the Olympics, which is a whole different thing. Sonic Racing, no, it's only got Sonic characters in there, right? That's no Mario in there.
It was Sega and All Stars Racing. That was another spin-off series.
Yeah.
So they had like, obviously Sega characters all racing in cars, which I think is pretty good. But I loved Sonic All Stars Racing Transform. That's really good. If you love things like Diddy Kong Racing, where you had multiple vehicles, that kind of thing is great. I think an important thing to flag up as well is that during the time where Sonic was falling in popularity, it's a time because obviously when Sonic first came out, everyone was trying to do like a mascot, everyone needed a cute character to kind of survive. That's what it felt like at the time. But then the PlayStation came through and kind of rewrote all the rules, even though the PlayStation had like some cute character platforming like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Croc, etc. It was a very small slice of the PlayStation pie. They had like a game for everyone. If you wanted RPGs, you had Final Fantasy. If you wanted horror, you had Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Whereas at the time, Nintendo and Sega felt like they just had Sonic or Mario. And in a way, that's why it felt fitting that Sonic and Sega went to the Nintendo console, because it had a natural fit there. So, and I think that contributed a little bit towards Sonic's downfall, because I think if they had like the sales and kept going, maybe they would have eventually found their feet. But I think it was kind of like a mixture of falling out of favor as well as developers not knowing what they wanted to do with the character, basically, I think. But yeah, and revivals, obviously after Sonic 06, they did have some more Sonic games come out, but obviously since then they had to really evaluate what they wanted to do. So Sonic 06, like Shadow the Hedgehog, kind of had a darker tone and also had multiple story campaigns. But after 06, it was kind of like, all right, we need to strip back on the characters and we kind of need to go less serious with ourselves. So they had Sonic Unleashed, which was quite mixed bag. Again, I quite liked it. I know I'm in the minority.
I thought it was all right. I thought Unleashed was all right. I thought it was all right. Not the worst.
And then and they had Sonic 4, which was the digital only kind of side scroller with the 3D sort of coat of paint, which had 2 episodes, which again was promising, but it didn't quite sell as well I think they wanted to, despite the hype of Sonic 4 at the time. So it was meant to carry on from Sonic 3. They had the Wii exclusives, the storybook games like Secret Rings and Black Knight, which again was kind of like, more of a fairy tale spin on Sonic. And then they had the release of Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, which was based on the cartoon series, which cartoon series I think is a lot of fun. The game itself, never played, but apparently was just as bad as 06. But but once the turning point for Sonic was kind of around Sonic Colors, that was around the Wii time. It kind of like you could see the colorful gameplay and the cover. It was very like it was meant to appeal to newcomers, and it was meant to be a lot more fun and like playful itself. And then on the 20th anniversary, they had Sonic Generations, which was a much better anniversary game. It kind of had a level from each of the games so far. You had modern Sonic and old Sonic, which were like working together, so you can go back and forth between 3D and 2D gaming. And it had lots of lovely Easter eggs. I especially love the cutscene towards the end where one of the characters actually says Robotnik, and then Robotnik goes, "Not anymore." So just that little shout at the fact they changed his name halfway through the series just made me very happy. And it was kind of from Genesis that they kind of had more games like Sonic Lost World was exclusive on the Wii U, and then Sonic Mania came out a couple of years ago, which was very, very well received. And then so that's where we kind of are at the moment.
So Sonic Mania was really, really good. That was a great return in form, and they I think is it actually fan made, isn't it?
So there was a lot of fan made. There was a guy like Christian Whitehead and a few others who made Sonic fan games, and they made like special editions of like there's a thing called Sonic 3 Complete, where they actually made a version of Sonic 3 where you could like switch the characters around and switch levels around to like do another fan made games, and they were hired by Sega to do so. Christian himself worked on mobile ports for Sonic 1 and 2. So if you ever played a mobile version of those games, he worked on that. And then they approached him and said, "Do you want to work on the next Sonic game?" And they had this idea for Sonic Mania. So so it's made by long-term Sonic fans who obviously made these games on their own time and now making proper Sonic games. So it was obviously a labor of love, and you can definitely feel it when you're playing the game.
It's such a great game.
So it sounds like Sonic's going through like a real renaissance. Some might call it a Sonic-sance. So having said that, though, as we go through this renaissance of Sonic, all things Sonic, like where do you guys want to see Sonic go as a character, whether it be in video games, in movies, and the cartoons, comics? Where do you want him to play?
Well, I want to see everything again. I want to see. We had Sonic the movie that came out a couple of years ago, and which I thought personally was really good fun. It was certainly not as bad as I was expecting it to be, because that that's another episode in on it to itself, which is good video games, bad movies, and bad video game, good movies. That's an idea that we've had for a long time, but I thought that would be one to add to the list, but it really isn't. If you've not seen the movie, I think it's on Prime now. We can go and get it. I don't remember where else it is. Then they are currently filming part 2, which will introduce the character of Tails in the actual live action movie, which I'm looking forward to it. There's actually a cutscene at the end of Sonic 1. I'm not spoiling anything, but you see Tails from behind. See his tails. I think you see his tails.
They do the Marvel thing where there's end credit scene and they tease for the next one.
I think you hear his voice. I can't remember.
I watched it. I didn't hang around for that. I didn't realize that was the thing. I'm gonna go back and check it out.
You're gonna buy every movie now.
I know. I'm like,
everyone wants their own MCU. Always stick around for the end.
I know. Always stick around for the end. Honestly, I should know this by now.
Not learned? You should have learned this. It's been 10 years, JC. 10 years of that.
No, but in that movie, like Jim Carrey is bonkers in that movie in the best possible way.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to hate it, but actually it was a lot of fun. You could tell he had a bit of a laugh with it. So, but in terms of the future, I mean, they've got Sonic Origins coming out. They announced that a couple of weeks ago, an anniversary stream, which has got they're going to have the first 3 Knuckles games on one disc or whatever. But I would love to see a compilation of all the 3D games. I know that in hindsight, that everyone say all 3D games are crap, but I think that if just based on what Thomas said, that they didn't have a speedy section, I think if you go back and play the old ones, you might be quite surprised. There's a lot that's aged quite well, and also how much it has changed. I mean, with Sega, what they did, they tried to reinvent Sonic with every game. In a way, that's kind of good that they're not afraid to experiment, but at the same time, it kind of shot them in the foot, I think, in the long run.
Yeah.
But if you like seeing different iterations of the same character and understand, want to see where it's gone for that, I think if you replay, you might have a lot of laughs. If ever playing it or just making fun of it, I think that it could be quite a fun experience. And then I would like them to kind of see that and think, right, people, we realize we're actually really good at this. Let's go from here. And I also think maybe having having the guys do the Sonic Mania 2 and then maybe having another team doing Sonic 3D, so that way that all fans are catered. It's not a bad idea. I mean, you've got it for Mario. You've got the Mario Land, you've got the 2D side-scrolling games, and then you've got Mario Galaxy and Odyssey, which is more like the 3D platformer, which obviously Super Mario 64 was kicked off. So you've got different iterations of Mario. Why not different iterations of Sonic?
Yeah.
There you go.
I want to see a few more TV series or a few more cartoons. I really like the Sonic the Hedgehog one. I can't remember what year it's from.
So you had Sonic the Hedgehog. You had the one that was the Adventures of Sonic Hedgehog, which is more comical. Then you had Sonic the Hedgehog, which was more serious. And then you had Sonic Underground, which had the more musical spin on there, which again was more serious but tongue-in-cheek as well. Then you had Sonic X, which was based on the adventure games. And then you had Sonic Boom, which is the more recent one. And then they're apparently going to do Sonic Prime, which apparently is going to be a new Netflix series.
I think Sonic Prime might be something for me, but I think it was Sonic the Adventure of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that was the one I liked growing up. But Sonic Prime sounds like it's promising. So I don't know, the TV series, I always remember them as being solid and actually quite well done, especially when you compare the TV series they've done for Mario, for example, which wasn't. I
watched the original Sonic cartoons on Netflix, where you could at one point.
I think so. Yeah, there's the original still on Netflix actually, because Louis was watching it for a while and then he gave up on it. But it's got a bunch of cool characters and actually funny little stories. So it's not. It was good. It was good. I want more of that. I actually enjoyed it. There's always that's I don't know if it's a stigma around Sonic, but everything is you expect it to be because of the bad spell they had. So you expect it to be average to bad. But actually, every time I get pleasantly surprised with it, with things they're releasing these days. So I'm very confident to what is coming up next for Sonic. I don't think it's we'll see the same crash they had, in the 2000s. So yeah, touch wood. And the last few games they've been pretty convincing. I don't think there's been anything wrong with them. I think it's obviously they don't have the platform to sell the Sonic games as dedicated platform like Nintendo has Mario has Nintendo, and so it's the flagship game that comes out when the new console is released. I think that's what maybe is lacking for Sega, that they should hopefully one day they will get back into making consoles, but that is a very hard thing to do these days in the multi-billion dollars businesses behind you to back you and be able to produce those kind of gaming consoles. So, and that's not what Sega is anymore. So that's why these are my hopes for the future of Sonic. Is that hopefully maybe there's a console in there somewhere at some point. I don't think it would ever be back to what we had, but it would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, for me, it's like definitely looking forward to Sonic Prime. I actually had not noticed that. I just looked it up and it's like, I mean, definitely would love to check out that show. But funny for me, it's like, it's the comics that I would love to kind of see more of and get into because that I've only kind of perused them kind of like lightly glance, but I'm like, all right, now it's time to kind of jump in. And especially off the back of watching the movie, I was like, all right, there could be way more in here than I gave it kind of credit for. But the big one that I kind of want to, it's a question and something to look forward to is like, I know there's like a Sonic VR game, right? And for me, I think that once again, coming back to, for me, my experience with Sonic is the playability of it was always the thing I took away most from it, right? It's just like, it was infinitely fun to play. It's like, I feel it sets up a really interesting challenge for VR, because how do you create a game that mimics that fun and like the speed of it, but doesn't make you barf at the same time? I think there's like a really interesting creative challenge there of like how to bring that in. And like, once again, like not necessarily lean into a big story for it, but really lean into like, just enjoying yourself in the most immersive experience possible and just like being in that Sonic world. I think this is a really interesting challenge.
If there was a Sonic VR, I would guarantee you I would vomit within the first 30 seconds, because I've played. Funny you mentioned VR. I was playing VR this week, and so I got Iron Man like a few months ago, and I never really played it. So I played Iron Man this week, and within 5 minutes of playing and flying around, I just went completely white as a
really.
I was like, "Way, you're gonna see my lunch." So it's imagine Sonic like a high-speed game going on VR. Those corners, I'm dreading it already. But that could be a good thing. It's again, like you said, and I very much agree.
Well, throwing up could be a good thing.
No, not throwing up, but like seeing them going with that idea, that would be a great thing to see. Like, let's try that for fun.
With knowing that the constraint is, how do you not get people to throw up, right? Because that's the big VR challenge right now. It's like, it's so immersive that's like it really does throw you off. So it's like, how do you cross that and still make it fun? I think that's where there's a nice challenge there.
Well, ironically, the very, 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 very first prototype of Sonic 1 apparently was so fast it made like the original Sonic Sega team
I heard
sick.
That.
And they had to slow it down and find a way to make it not nausea inducing, so they did it way back then. Maybe they could do it now. Obviously very different time, very different technology, and obviously playing the handheld and then obviously with goggles on your face, like completely different experiences. But they met the challenge and managed to find a way back when. Who knows, they might be able to do it again.
Nice.
Right, before we wrap this up, let's do this. How about Sarah, you can start, but what's your, I was going to say top 3 favorite Sonic games. Yeah, let's go. Top 3. Which are they?
So I can give you the first 2 like easy. Third one would be a bit of a challenge. So the first one is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because that's my favorite video game of all time. Sits on the top of every list. It's a game that I said at the very beginning, I could play over and over again. I love every aspect of it. I love doing the boosters. I love getting all the Chaos Emeralds. I love playing all 3 characters. I love every single level. The music is amazing. It's everything about it. To me, it's the perfect game. I know like the original build had some glitches in it, but to me, it's close as you can get to a perfect game in my opinion. My second favorite, funnily enough, is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So I have so many good memories of playing it with my brother. We 100% completed back in the day. We got A ranks on all the levels and unlocked the secret level. We did all the chows, and then I played it with my husband, then boyfriend at the time. We had our own save file and did it and try to do it that way. And I love Shadow the Hedgehog, but I love the story campaign and all and everything that was wrong with Adventure, they improved on Adventure 2, and I just love that game so much. And again, the soundtrack is one of my favorites. I love how each character had like a different style. So Sonic was more like rocky, Rouge was more jazzy, Tails was more like pop rock, and etc. The third one, I mean, I couldn't debate this. I think I loved Generations so much. I loved how much it called back to the others, and I loved the gameplay, but I also absolutely adored Mania. So I think those two will probably fight for third place.
So you got a joint third place there. Okay, that's fair enough. JC, have you got a top three? Have you played enough Sonic games to have a top three?
Well, that's what I was saying. My top three is going to be very simple. I will rank them. Yeah, but actually, it goes 2, 3, 1. Actually, I was a big fan of Sonic 2. I think just because of like the leap that it had in the play modes, and just generally, I think it was the right time for me. Like I no longer felt like the outcasts with the Sega. Like Sonic made it more mainstream. I played that with friends. So it's more like the memories I have of playing it. I played that game way more with friends. I think 3 I played more by myself, and then 1 I definitely played by myself because I was like the only one that was into it. So I think it's more that. Yeah, so I think it's more that, and then of course I went on my gaming hiatus spread around like the early 2000s, and only came back once like Aiden started gaming again. So, and he hasn't been as much into Sonic, so the latter games I'm not as versed with. So yeah, I'll stick to the OGs.
Okay, I'll go. I think in third place I'll put Sonic CD on Mega CD, which I bought recently, which is posh. Yeah, it's just the music is just so good on there. It literally is the first game, but there's a twist. So if you don't collect, I think it's Power Stone. So they've done something. You have to go through the levels, and it's like little spinning wheels that you gotta hit. And if you don't hit them all, then you move next level, and things are going bad. So the graphics are changing and they're evolving. They're not colorful. They turn into dark or slightly more sad colors. I'll go with my second one. I want to put Sonic 2 just because it is that good. I don't know what to argue with it. And then the first one is Sonic 1, is because that's literally that moment when I went, oh! Maybe not the best Sonic game, but it's just for what it represents. Sort of that big moment in my life in terms of video games. And yeah, it's that big, again, going back to how we started the episode, that moment of stepping into that messy bedroom that wasn't mine, smoky bedroom, and the guy was doing that, and it was like, oh, that's cool. But that's why it's number one. It's because that.
So Sonic 1 makes you want to drink and smoke weed, then?
Yes. Kids listening.
and shout out relentlessly, Sega.
Walk around like a lunatic, smelling of weed, screaming Sega on the street. Yes, it's exactly how it was.
That really was their ad. Sense the weed. It really was their ad, honestly.
All right, cool. Anything else we want to add on? I think we're good. I think we've done it. We managed to cover.
Sonic, and happy birthday, Sonic, again.
Exactly.
Yeah. 30. He's gonna be thinking about a mortgage now and buying furniture. He's 30. It's like I should have a savings account now.
It's time to maybe tie the knot with that girlfriend of yours. What's her name? Amy or whatever. It's time to propose.
Put a ring on that finger, Sonic.
With all the rings he collects, he can propose to one of them.
Exactly. Oh god. All right then, let's wrap it up. I'm quite amazed we managed to cover 30 years of Sonic in the space of over an hour, which was a performance. With listening to your feedback, people, and we are acting on them. We are being concise. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Please, if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching us in the first place, and please subscribe there. There's a little subscribe button and hit the bell and everything, and leave us a comment. So you like answering to those comments, but do subscribe.
Boost the algorithm.
Yes, boost the algorithm. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, thank you. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever. If you're on Amazon, also hi Amazon. And if you're listening anywhere else, then thank you. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm sure you will be, because you love us. And what else? Instagram, social media and stuff, Twitter. Follow us there. We are very active, and by we I mean myself, because
he takes really nice pictures on Instagram. I highly recommend it.
Yes.
That's lovely photos. Oh my god, I love it. So please subscribe. Yes, we've crossed 1,500, which I still don't know how we got to that number. So thanks everyone who's following us there, and if you are watching our photos on there and you're not subscribed, please do it. Anyway, thanks Sarah for joining us once again. you'll
Thanks
be back.
for having me, guys.
Yeah, you'll be back for more anime review and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And then also thanks JC for joining us again every week, all day.
Showing up. Yeah. And finally, thanks to Tom for doing all the magic behind the podcast. He is producer, mixer, editor, everything,
Instagram.
social media manager. Keeps the whole thing running, man. So thanks to Tom every week for bringing the heat.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here. Thank you very much. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Sega! I needed to do that.